Theodorom Sedgwick vyštudoval osmanskú históriu na Harvard College a dejiny ho lákajú dodnes. Práve pre bohatú históriu mu učarovalo aj Slovensko. Bol novinárom, vydavateľom a podnikateľom. Ako 29-ročný kúpil 70-percentný podiel vo firme, ktorú chcel jeho šéf predať. O pár rokov neskôr založil vlastné vydavateľstvo. Nakoniec ho však zlákala diplomacia. V júni 2010 ho americký kongres potvrdil vo funkcii veľvyslanca na Slovensku. Popri povinnostiach diplomata hrá tenis, bicykluje, cestuje po Slovensku a hrá v kapele Diplomatic Immunity Band.
Welcome you all to the American Embassy. Thank you very much for coming today. And thank you for bringing this perfect weather. We used to call our band Philanthropy Band because we would play for charities, but we changed the name to Diplomatic Immunity because we wanted to be immune from any criticism. So,
by the way, for those who do not know, this is the American ambassador, Theodorom Sedgwickom.
well, I would say that I'm a diplomat primarily, but a diplomat who has some experience as an entrepreneur, as a businessman. So I think I've had some different experiences in my life. I think that, but right now I'm primarily, first and foremost, a diplomat. Well, I do wish that, I spent most of my life as an entrepreneur. And I spent the last 5 years as serving my country in public service. And looking back, I wish I had done that maybe a little bit sooner, so that I wish I'd devoted more years to public service. And so that's one thing I would change, I think. I've been surprised that the job is so intense and very, very busy. And I'm pleasantly surprised because I like being busy. So if you feel like you're doing something productive, it's very rewarding, and so but that surprised me that it is so busy. But that's what's exhausting, just simply my schedule. So my job has been to work with Slovakia as a partner and ally of the United States in working, say, with military cooperation. Of course, we have 125 American companies here, so the business and commercial opportunities for both are very important. Now, my job mostly is to promote, U.S. exports, but I'm also very happy when I see U.S. companies coming to invest in Slovakia, because this helps the economy of Slovakia, it helps the prosperity of Slovakia, and it's good for the companies. So I've been working a lot with American companies, and then our relations with your Ministry of Foreign Affairs are on a very positive level. This has been a very interesting time here in Slovakia. I came here under the administration of Iveta Radočová, and then I've been working with the government of Prime Minister Fico, so I've had an opportunity to being posted to the center-right government and center-left government, and then also serving two Secretaries of State, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Secretary of State John Kerry. And so even though I've been here for 5 years, the experience has been changing all the time. Slovak politics is very interesting, very dynamic.
Najprv to je kamarát, bo v koncu my s ním sa poznáme 5 rokov, bo on byl u prezidenta na pol hodinku prede mnou, takže on je trochu starší tu v Bratislave na pol hodinky.
President Gasparovich, when we presented credentials, actually the Israeli ambassador and I presented credentials on the same day in August of 2010.
Ale to 5 rokov robíme spolu tu aj ako diplomati a trochu ako hudba, viete, ten Diplomatic Immunity Band. A my sme kamaráti, bo máme rádi strašne, niekedy ideme pivo a tak nemôže iné nazvať ako blízky kamarát. On má veľké srdce, on má ten pocit vtipov a takže nie, že taký veľa veľvyslancov, keď hovoríš veľvyslancov, to vyzerá taký suchý človek z sáko, kravata a siedí v ofise a neviem, a kričí na ľudí, ktorí s ním robia. A to nie je tak. A musím povedať, že to je jasné, že nie je tak. A dúfam, že ja tiež nie, ale to už neviem, tí, ktorí so mnou robia, povedať. Ale ja musím povedať, že to je človek s veľkým srdcem. Ja myslím, s veľkou láskou pre Slovensko tiež. Urobil veľa aj pre tie vzťahy medzi Slovenskom a Spojenými štátami. A to vlastne to je tá pravidelná práca veľvyslanca.
One thing that struck me as soon as I got here, I didn't know, because I had not traveled here, I didn't know how much of a rich history there is here. When everywhere you go, even in remote places, the history goes back to the 13th century often.
On má veľmi rád drvené kostoly. Tak on už strávil 3 dní konsekutívne na východnom Slovensku a navštívil, myslím, že viac ako 20 drvených kostolov tam na východnom Slovensku. Tak on študoval dejiny na univerzite Harvard a on má stále ten interes o dejinách. A tak tu na Slovensku vždy, keď on bude navštíviť nejaký malý obec alebo nejaké miesto, on chce vedieť, ale čo okrem tých oficiálnych stretnutí, čo môžem vidieť, čo môže mi ukázať, ako je to naozaj, how would I say, real, to skutočné Slovensko. Tak kostoly, staré hrady, zrúcaniny, také veci on vždy sa snaží navštíviť, keď on je na ceste po Slovensku.
I also want to show you this map. This is a map of all the pins are places where I've traveled to. And our band has played in many of those places.
Oh, I see.
Krasnohorska.
Okay.
You know, we went to see the castle there, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I do like, generally speaking, I like the old historic towns of Slovakia where there's a lot of history. For example, Košice, Banská Bystrica, Banská Štiavnica, Bardejov, you know, I love these towns that have beautiful old churches and history. Levoča, you know, there are many beautiful places in Slovakia. This is the actual photograph by Joe Rosenthal of the Iwo Jima, and then the statue was made in Arlington, Virginia later. But the reason we show this is that the leader of the contingent here was Slovak. He was born in Yadobina, and he emigrated to Pennsylvania, and he was a very brave leader of the Marines. And so he was a fantastic soldier. There are many books written about him, many movies, flags of our fathers, and so he's a very famous Slovak, and he's a great symbol of the strong relationship between Slovakia and the United States. And his name is Michael Strank. Michael Strank. A lot of Slovaks emigrated. We are a nation of immigrants, after all. We're not all that different. I mean, everybody anywhere in the world has the same concerns. They want to take care of their families. They want to be doing something, you know, interesting. They want to, you know, make a living, and they want to have friends and close relations with their family. Well, I think it was very happy by and large. I was the fourth of 4 children, and I had wonderful parents, and so they believed in a good education for me. When I was growing up, I always would read newspapers because I was interested in things going on. Even when I was 10, 11, 12, I would read newspapers to see what was going on in the world. And so then I became interested in becoming a journalist. When I graduated from high school, I was young for going to college. I was 17, so my headmaster and my family thought maybe I should have a gap year, you know, a year of studying maybe overseas. So I had a cousin who had been a New York Times correspondent in Athens, Greece. And so he was involved with a school there, you know, one-year school called College Year in Athens. So I went to that school for a year. And then when I spent time in Greece, I became maybe more interested. Instead of the classical period, I became more interested, say, in the Byzantine and Ottoman period. And I had a specific teacher who taught me in Greece. And then when I went to college, he became my tutor, my professor. So he inspired me to become interested in Ottoman history. It was interesting because I could do research on that, and because so little was written about it in English. A friend of mine was a movie maker, and we had made a movie in Greece together about some special group of nomads called the Vlachs, the Vlach. We decided to do this, and we wanted to go to someplace very exotic, so we actually went to Afghanistan. And we went to Afghanistan and we did a documentary about the Pashtun tribe. And they, again, were going up to the mountains in the summer, and we traveled with them as they traveled from the summer to the plains in the winter. So it was it was a real adventure. Well, I think that the main thing is for children to have a dream and to understand that any dream is possible. You know, it doesn't matter what the dream is. It doesn't have to be the most successful business person or political person. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be being a cook. It doesn't matter. But if they find a passion and are able to achieve it, it's the American dream.
Like the way you walk, like the way you talk, like the way you walk, like the way you talk. Shoot at you, come on.
Young Slovaks who go every summer to the United States, they go under a very great program. We have more than 2,000 to go for so-called work and travel visas. That means that they go as lifeguards, as you know, waitresses or waiters, or you know, many different jobs, typically at a resort in the United States. And they go all over the country for the summer. And it's very easy to get a visa for this program. Hello. Where are you going?
California.
California, wow, you're lucky. Where in California?
Irvine.
Irvine?
Yes.
And what will you be doing there?
Lifeguard.
Lifeguard, good.
Yes.
So the beaches, California. And so we asked the students to take photographs for their Facebook page, and then we have a competition. And we try to choose the best photographs, and we display them here in the waiting room so that the students for the next year, they can see what fun the Slovaks had the previous summer, and so it rotates every year like that. Dobar rano. And thank you for coming to the United States, to my country. Now tell me, how many of you came last summer? Anybody? Okay, one. Oh, you did also. And where did you go?
First time or second time?
First time, last time.
Last time Ocean City, Maryland. The first time Yellowstone National Park.
Yellowstone. Oh, you're lucky. Beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah.
On má veľmi veľké srdce, on je veľmi, on má toľko zaujíma o Slovensko, o to, čo stáva tu a o zhlbošení vzťahov medzi Amerikou a Slovenskou. Ako vy ste videli v jeho kancelárii, on už navštívil prakticky celou Slovensko a mnohokrát sa vrátil do tých malých obcov a miest po celom Slovensku. Myslím, že on inspiruje všetkých zamestnancov na veľvyslanectve. On už po 5 rokoch rozumie toľko aj politickej situácii, aj ekonomickej situácii, aj on má tie osobné vzťahy s toľkými obyčajnými Slovákmi, že on je ako inspiráciou, myslím, pre všetkých nás. On pracuje stále. Nepovažuje jeho prácu ako niečo, čo robím počas dňa, ale on má, ak môžete vidieť jeho kalendár, on má stále stretnutia, večery, pohár kávy s niekom. On stále pracuje, pretože on naozaj sa zabavuje toto prácou.
I found a job in a small newspaper in about 50,000 circulation newspaper in West Virginia, Huntington, West Virginia. So my job was as a news reporter, and I would go to the police station and find out who was murdered or, find out what crimes were committed. I would go to the courthouse, and I learned a lot about how a small town works. I was really planning to be a journalist for my whole career. But then I got this job covering the coal industry in Washington for this specialized publication. And then my boss was a very creative guy, and I learned about how he did not just the editorial, but the marketing and the promotion and the business side, because I was in a small environment. And so then he was very creative, but he was very impractical in some ways. So he made some big mistakes and he went bankrupt. And so I knew that he was going to sell my publication, and I didn't know if I would be able to keep my job. So in order to survive, or out of self-preservation, I borrowed some money and bought this small publication. And so that's how I got started as an entrepreneur. Well, that was the beginning of Pasha Publications, was this coal publication. And then I was very lucky because this is a good time. Energy is a very dynamic industry in the United States. And at this time, all the energy commodities, such as natural gas, electricity, were being deregulated. And so before, they were highly regulated by the government. And then the government decided, okay, we'll let the market decide what the price is. And then, so our publications I either created or acquired publications that would explain every day, some were dailies, what was happening in the market. I had an office in Houston because Houston, Texas is the capital of the energy industry. I was lucky to have a good team around me of people who stayed with me for a long period of time. And we had a lot of fun. We were doing conferences and traveling all around the country, and even we did some conferences in Europe on deregulation of energy markets, and so it was a very interesting experience. My family was involved in politics literally 200 years ago. And so this wasn't something that I inherited from my father or grandfather. Although my father and grandfather were both very interested in politics. My father was a businessman in the Midwest. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, a big Slovak city. And my grandfather was the editor and publisher of a one of the magazines in the United States called the Atlantic Monthly, which is a magazine that covers, say, current affairs, and it's also a literary magazine. And so I grew up in an atmosphere of being curious about current events and world affairs. So I became interested in politics, even though I was a different, maybe political party from my father, but it doesn't matter. He's still, we still had good conversations. And here's a picture of me with someone you probably recognize.
Yes, probably is.
President Obama. That was taken, I believe, before he was elected, so I'm guessing maybe 2007, something like that. And then after he was elected, my wife and I went to the White House for a Christmas party. And so this is the White House at Christmas time, very festive, you know, with the Christmas trees and ornaments. A very, very nice picture of Barack and Michelle Obama. In our system, about a third of the ambassadors, or a little less than a third, are chosen directly by a president. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican president or Democratic president. Roughly a third are chosen by the president from people he knows or she knows. And then the rest are the Foreign Service officers who are from the State Department. So I was one of the ambassadors that was chosen by the president himself. I've really loved the experience. It's been a wonderful experience. So it was a great honor for me to be selected for this position. That I was sworn in as ambassador to Slovakia in Washington. So this was at the State Department. And this is my family, my mother, who's now deceased, unfortunately, and various members of my family, relatives, and friends. These are actually all family members, cousins, uncles, brothers. This is a picture with my wife and myself with Secretary Clinton. We've been married for over 40 years, and very happily. And we met down in Georgia, where I was born, the same town where I was born. And I would spend some time in this town, and she grew up there. And when we were in high school, we didn't like each other, and but then we got together later on, so after college. She has had a wonderful time here in Slovakia. She's made many friends, and she's interested in public health. And so she got to know President Kiska before he was president. They became good friends, and I became friendly with him and knew him even before he was running for president. So that was through her outreach, her connection. And so she's been a very valuable part of our team. She has a very good sense of people. You know, we will meet somebody, and after 3 seconds, she will say, you know, I think this person is whatever. And then I say, well, how do you know? And she says, well, I just know. And then I find out as I get to know that person more myself. It takes me days of knowing the person. Then I tell her later, you know, you were absolutely right about that person. Your instinct was right. And I don't have that instinct at all. I often sit here on the couch, or if I'm working, I'll sit on the dining room table and where I can spread out papers. And I'm very messy, unfortunately, so I have papers scattered all over the dining room table. I leave my socks on the floor, or I leave my papers spread all over, and she says, you know, you need to. And I don't blame her, because, you know, it's important that we have a clean home and that everything is proper. Well, I'm very grateful for our children that we have together, 2 daughters, and the grandchildren we have. This is something we share, and so I'm grateful for her company. We share a curiosity about the world, and so she's a wonderful partner.
Robíme tréning, to musíme robiť, a vlastne najviac robíme to u Toda doma. On má priestor na to a má doma aj klavír a aj trochu tie všetky priestory, takže dla nás to je najľahšie. a ja bývam blízko, to je ešte predľa mňa, tak vlastne tie výcviky robíme. Todd je jeden z tých, ktorý je zakladateľov tej kapely, takže aj on prišiel prede mnou do kapely. Ja tam byl, ale ja nehral, len byl tam. Super bol, je dobrý klavirista a ako povedal, je kamarát. Dla nás to je viac než všetko. 3 slovami. Hudba, popcorn a pivo. On niekedy povedal, nie, a teraz ja poviem to, čo on niekedy povedal, že on je veľvyslanec niekedy, ale rockstar celý čas. Tak, no myslím, že to je trochu pravda, ne?
I've always played piano, but this is the first time in my life I played in a rock and roll band. So, but the other thing I like to do is hobbies is I like going skiing. So I ski in Slovakia or Austria. It's very convenient here to go skiing because it's not too far away. And then I like to go hunting also. So sometimes I hunt for pheasants or boar, dibiak. When I get an opportunity, I go biking on the along the Danube, say to Čunovo or to Heinberg or to Devin or Schlosshof, and it's a beautiful area. All around here is beautiful biking into the countryside. Also, I like to play tennis. Now, it's not relaxing, but it's a way. When I play tennis, my mind is completely away from anything to do with work, because you have to really think about where you're going to hit the ball. It's important for me when I can to get some kind of exercise. If I have time, I'll get exercise every day. So I'll in the morning, I start at the castle and I walk along the river to work. It's very nice in the morning to walk along the river because there's something about looking at water that's very soothing. It's very good for your soul. The Slovaks are very attached to their families. And so even Slovaks who go and work overseas, say in the United States or Europe, or in Western Europe, they come back often to be with their families. I think this is a very good, to have these traditional values. It's a very strength. It provides a lot of strength to the country. And then I go home quite often, so I get to see them over Christmas and during the summer and sometimes at other times of year. So we Skype and see each other, talk on the phone often. So it hadn't been too bad, but I'm looking forward to being able to spend more time with them. The main thing I miss is simply being with my family when I want to be with my family, or going out with my friends when I want to go out with my friends, So I would say that's the main thing.